The new live-action Disney Plus series Ahsoka is set to kick off this evening, and I wanted to give a brief history on her so that everyone could know where we are in the story as of yet. Welcome, Bingers. I'm the Binge Wizard, and I'm here to share my thoughts and opinions and knowledge based off of my binging experiences. In today's video, we're going to do a deep dive into Ahsoka's history. I do want to give a disclaimer. The following information is strictly my opinion and thoughts. I'm not an expert. I don't know anyone that works for Star Wars, so these are all just my opinions. None of these statements have been confirmed. But I do want to also let you know that there will be some spoilers, some pretty big spoilers if you haven't watched the animated series. I do suggest you take a look into it. It is a great watch, and it's really not that long. It really only takes maybe a couple of days to get through the animated series, and they add a lot of depth and detail to the story. Some characters that you maybe only briefly see in the live-action movies or the live-action shows. You get a lot of detail on some of the characters, and they go on some pretty crazy adventures. So if you do have a chance, it's really worth the binge. Now, back to Ahsoka. I'm sure some people are wondering who she is, where she comes from, why she should have her own show, and hopefully I answer some of those questions for you. Now, Ahsoka is born in the animated series, The Tales of the Jedi. She's born to a loving family, and she shows her Force abilities really early, before she can even walk. And shortly after that, she is discovered by a Jedi Master Plo. He was on a mission to her planet and realized that she had the abilities and immediately took her back to the temple to begin training. That is one reason why throughout Ahsoka's appearances in the Star Wars saga, so many people talk about her abilities at her age. Now, Ahsoka's actual first appearance was in the animated movie, The Clone Wars, and she appears to become the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker. Now, Anakin did not want a Padawan. He was under the assumption that Ahsoka was coming to be Obi-Wan's Padawan. But my theory is that Yoda knew that Anakin was going to need someone to keep him in check, and so he assigned Ahsoka to be his Padawan. And honestly, spoiler alert, it did pretty good. Now, we get some earlier instances of Ahsoka in the Tales of the Jedi, even though the show itself came out after Clone Wars. So, for example, during the Tales of the Jedi, there's a scene an episode where she is training in the Jedi Temple, and she's impressing all of the Jedi Masters, except for her own master, Anakin Skywalker. He suggests that she try a harder test, that anyone can take out droids. And so he arranges for Rex and some of the other clone troopers to perform a test where they put their guns on stun and they begin using Ahsoka as target practice. She gets knocked down several times and, starts to kind of feel defeated, and then she gets a heartfelt speech from her master, and he tells her, I want you to be prepared for anything. I want you to be ready and, strong enough to battle through anything. If anything with a blaster is trying to hurt you, you'll be able to stop it. And, that leads me to another one of my theories, is that he knew what was going to happen. We've seen that Anakin had visions of the future, and so I believe that he had seen a clip of Ahsoka being attacked by droids, and he may not have known that he was going to be the cause of it, but he at least knew that she was going to be attacked by some clones, and he wanted her to be able to protect herself. So at the end of that episode, it shows the end of the Clone Wars when the Order has been executed and Ahsoka is under attack by the clones, and she's having to defend herself from the exact thing that her master trained her for. So it just kind of solidifies to me that my theory is correct, that he saw and knew that it was going to happen. The last episode of Tales of the Jedi is also at the end of the Clone Wars. It shows Ahsoka returning to Naboo to pay respects to Padme and putting her own life at risk. She meets Senator Organa, who gives her a communicator and tells her if she needs anything, if she ever wants to stop running, that she can always reach out to him. And sometime later, Ahsoka does. She finds her way to a farming village, and she tries to hide that she's a Jedi. Eventually, she's found out, and the Empire sends Inquisitors after her. She, of course, defeats the Inquisitor, but by then the village is already burned to the ground, and she has to use the communicator to reach out to Senator Organa and get the villagers some assistance. At that time, you would think that she would be joining back into the fight, but again, that was the end of Tales of the Jedi, so we're not exactly sure what part of the story that it is in, but I assume that it is the beginning of Rebels. So before Rebels begins, we actually have, like I said, Ahsoka's first appearance, which is the Clone Wars, the animated series. She goes on a mission with Anakin and Obi-Wan to try to save the planet. They succeed. And then we have the animated series, The Clone Wars, where Ahsoka actually begins her training as a Jedi Padawan, and her and Anakin, Obi-Wan, and several other characters that you probably already know began their adventures trying to win the war for the Republic. Again, if you have a chance, you should definitely check out the animated series. It gives a lot of extra details to characters like the Mandalorian. It shows a lot about Mandalore and its people. And one thing that I thought was interesting was it appeared that a lot more people were aware of Padme and Anakin. Even Ahsoka seemed to be a little bit more aware that they were at least together, because it seemed like at some points Padme and Anakin used Ahsoka almost as a practice baby. Ahsoka was constantly saving Padme and trying to ask Padme for her advice or her help, and always looking out for Anakin for Padme. But a big turning point in the show is when Ahsoka is framed for the bombing of the Jedi Temple and the death of a senator by using the Force. And because of the nature of the situation, the Jedi Council decides to expel Ahsoka for the time, and they essentially turn their backs on her. Anakin knew that she was innocent, but he couldn't prove it without help. And so he asks Padme to represent and defend Ahsoka in the Senate while he tries to find answers. He eventually does get the answers that he needs by finding Asajj Ventress, who used to be a Jedi turned Sith assassin, but then left the Sith as well because she was betrayed by Count Dooku. Now, Ahsoka's status as a Jedi Knight gets reinstated, and the Jedi Order asks her to come back, and they apologize. And most of them really seem sincere, but at that point the damage had already been done. You know, Ahsoka had given them her entire life at this point, had gone on all these missions, done everything that she could for the Jedi Order, and she just felt like for them to betray her or turn their backs on her, you know, she couldn't trust herself anymore because they didn't trust her. And personally, this is another one of my theories, I believe that that was all part of Darth Sidious or the Chancellor or whatever you want to call him. I believe it was all part of his plan to get Ahsoka away from Anakin, because like Yoda's plan was to keep Anakin in check, he knew that with Ahsoka there keeping him in check, that Anakin would never turn to the dark side. So he had to get rid of Ahsoka somehow, and that's how it occurred. From that point on, Anakin really never is the same. His anger starts to get the best of him, and as far as things go, Ahsoka does come back to the war to help Anakin and Obi-Wan fight for Mandalore because, big spoiler, Darth Maul is alive, and he becomes a ruler of Mandalore, and the Senate refuses to assist Mandalore, mostly the Emperor. He didn't want to help Mandalore. He didn't want to try to get into any bit of Darth Maul's drama, so he didn't want anyone to interfere in Mandalore, so Obi-Wan and Anakin call Ahsoka and ask Ahsoka to help Bo-Katan take back Mandalore, and she does. She ends up catching Darth Maul, and Darth Maul reveals the future to Ahsoka. He tells her everything that's going to happen with Anakin, shows her a vision of it, and she has a choice to tell Master Yoda when she's reporting that she's got Darth Maul and that they're on their way back to Coruscant. But she chooses not to. She chooses to keep it to herself so that she can try to tell Anakin herself and try to help Anakin herself. But she didn't realize that the wheels were already in motion on that plan, and by the time that she would arrive, it would already be over. Actually, she doesn't even make it to Coruscant. They execute the order while she's still on the ship, and we get a flashback of the episode from the Tales of the Jedi. Now, again, if you watch this in the order that it actually physically came out, you may have seen the end of Clone Wars before you saw the end, before you saw the end of the Tales of the Jedi. But they're showing the exact same scene where Ahsoka is attempting to escape the ship, and she's fighting off the clones with the help of Rex, who is her clone trooper friend. He removed his chip in the Clone Wars and was able to evade Order 66. He didn't have to follow it. So he was able to help her along with some droids, because that was one thing about Ahsoka. She always gave everyone and everything respect. She took her Jedi Knight training abilities to heart and her authority to heart. She really wanted to be a peacekeeper, not a warrior, not a soldier. So the next instance that we get of Ahsoka after she escapes the ship, it's crash landing onto a planet. Rex and Ahsoka build a memorial for the clones, and she buries her lightsabers, showing that she is walking away to, never return. And that is the end of Clone Wars, the animated series. Now, we pick up with Rebels, and she's not in Rebels very much, even though she is a very crucial character, and there are some things that happen to her in Rebels that are crucial to her story. So, without getting into too much detail, Ahsoka comes out of hiding, and she joins a group of rebels that are attempting to get the Empire off of this planet called Lothal. And in doing so, they keep coming across Sith Inquisitors. So Ahsoka and some other Jedi decide to try to find a way to stop the Inquisitors by attacking them first. They go looking for answers from Master Yoda, and they go to this Jedi temple on Lothal where they get some answers from Yoda, and they go to this planet that is a Sith planet, has a Sith temple, and inside the Sith temple is this weapon. And the weapon can only be powered by a Sith holocron, and that's when we learn that Darth Maul, again, is not dead, and he's here to try to get this Sith holocron and obtain this weapon so that he can destroy the Sith. He has a vendetta against Darth Sidious for abandoning him, and he wants to destroy the Sith and become the ruler of the galaxy, and he wants Ezra to be his Padawan. Ahsoka was not letting that happen. She decided to defend Ezra, and that's when she gets into a heated battle with Darth Vader, who is trying to take over control over the weapon in the temple. We see a scene where Ahsoka is battling Darth Vader, and it appears that she is sacrificing herself so that Ezra and his Jedi Master Kanan can get away from the temple before it self-destructs. And then we don't see Ahsoka or Darth Vader for a really long time until Ezra goes into a time portal and presumably goes back into time and pulls Ahsoka out during the battle and essentially saves her life. They go through a little bit of a mission, trying to figure out why Ezra was in the portal, what he was supposed to be learning, and all of the things. And then Ahsoka is sent back through her time portal back to the temple, and it's destroyed. Darth Vader is gone, and we assume that time kind of picks up from where she left off, because we also see a scene where Darth Vader is flying away. So it kind of makes it seem like, even though Ezra did save Ahsoka, he also essentially saved Darth Vader. So, those are some big moments about Ahsoka that are in those shows. Now, I believe a little bit more of the Rebels storyline is going to come into play with the new Ahsoka show coming up, because we have glimpses of Hera, who was one of the Rebels. We have glimpses of Sabine, who was one of the Rebels. So I believe that storyline is going to take a big precedence in the upcoming show, so it may be something that you want to check out. But again, for purposes of this video, I just wanted to stay focused on what is going on with Ahsoka. Now, that is not the last instance that we see Ahsoka. She appears again in The Mandalorian, which is after the fall of the Empire, and she is on a planet she's trying to get to this leader that has been, killing off these people on this planet, and come to find out she is Grand Admiral Thrawn's apprentice. And so Ahsoka's been chasing after her, and it comes to find out this chick has been chasing after Ahsoka as well. We see Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, appear to try to seek out Ahsoka to help train Grogu, and he makes a deal with Ahsoka that he will help rid this planet of this evil ruler if she trains Grogu. And they get rid of this chick, and Ahsoka tells Din Djarin that she can't train Grogu, that he can take Grogu to the Circle of Stones, and he can reach out for a Jedi Master, which he does, and he finds Luke. And from that point, the last time that we see Ahsoka is when Din Djarin appears again in the Book of Boba to try to give some armor to Grogu, and Ahsoka kind of interferes and explains that if he were to appear in Grogu's life, that he may not reach his full potential, and so it would really be best if she gave him the gift and he left without seeing Grogu. And Din Djarin does. Ahsoka gives the gift to Luke Skywalker, who gives it to Grogu, and Grogu makes his choice to go be with Din Djarin. And at that point, that is all that we have seen so far of Ahsoka. She says her goodbyes, and, may the Force be with you. And now here we are getting pumped for her new show. You should be all caught up at this point. Again, I know I've said this several times, but I can't stress it enough. The storyline is great. It adds so much detail. You really should go check it out if you have a chance. and hopefully you'll thank me later. Now, at this point in the video, I would like to give some super special shout-outs to, my friends and my family who have supported me and pushed me to take this leap, at D Tesla, which is my partner, and at Tiako McCoy, which is one of my best friends. I wouldn't have even taken the chance if it wasn't for you having that support there for me. There's also several other friends that have helped me and told me, you should just do it, just take a chance. And I really appreciate them for all of their assistance as well. I do need to also give a special shout out to Wonder, which is the AI art generator that I used for all of the Binge Wizard art, and StarWars.com and Disney Plus for the entirety of Ahsoka. She's probably my favorite character from the Star Wars saga now that I have gotten so much depth about her. She's just a badass to, excuse my language, but she just really is a great heroine of the story. Now at this point, I do want to take the time to thank you for sticking around, and please, if you could, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe for more content. Share with a fellow Star Wars fan, leave a comment with your thoughts about Ahsoka, suggestions for shows or movies that I might cover, or even advice. I'm just starting my channel. There's been technical difficulties and learning curve and things of that nature, so any advice for the channel would really be helpful and appreciated. If you didn't catch the intro video to me and the channel, please, show it some love if you can. I just kind of briefly describes myself and the channel and what the plan for the channel is, so it may give you a little bit more context about what we do and what the community is that I want to try to build here. So, if you haven't, please, again, just like, comment, subscribe, and if you are here for my plan about covering shows, about talking about binge-worthy movies, please don't hesitate to come back, and don't forget your favorite binge-worthy snacks and drinks, and let's go along for the adventure together.